So everything had to be left on the outside when we walked across those white lines. We couldn't carry the baggage with us into the softball game and expect to execute. We're going to talk about vision and executing it today, right? And so when you step on the other side, the other lines of this business, you have to leave outside of it, right? You have to compartmentalize. You have to leave outside of it some things that everybody willing to admit, like some crap is going on in your life. Anybody want to raise their hand to that one? Like right now, like I'm drinking Shakeology and I considered asking Chad to put rum in it. Come on, you thought about it before. And that honestly is how I feel right now. I just got, a very disturbing text dealing with my sister and some of the addictions that she has and denials and people in her life that are supporting her addiction and supporting her denials and all of that. And, I was like, every ounce of me wanted to be like, I'm gonna be honest, just F it. You know what I mean? Like I'm just going to go crawl in that bed right there. Just screw it. Right. But what kicked in right away was I'm walking in between the lines. Right now. And so all of that has to be left outside of here because this is not an option, right? So you guys sit in a very different situation than I do. If you don't show up tonight, the webinar would still go on, right? But if I don't show up tonight, if I wouldn't have clicked on, y'all would have continued to wait, correct? And it wouldn't log on until I logged on. Right? I had to step onto the softball field, so to speak. I had to step into my business and leave that behind. I'm going to ask you guys to start taking your business as serious as that. Because that emotional strength has to kick in, and when you step on the other side of the field, you have to leave the baggage out there. If you don't, all your circumstances will never go away, right? And so, like, it doesn't matter how many zeros end up on the end of your name. I can't buy my sister out of a drug addiction. I can't. And it sure as heck doesn't make me feel the number of zeros that entered my bank account today didn't make me feel any better about the number of zeros. About her drug addiction and what she's doing to her kids, right? The paycheck didn't fix anything. Right? And so you're going to face things in your life that you would never in a million years, because it's as long as we're on earth, right? We're not in heaven yet. And so you're always going to have circumstances, and your circumstances can't control your actions, right? Because if you ask me, that's pretty rock bottom for a family. Does that make sense? Like, it's pretty rock bottom. I'm not going to go into the other disgusting part of it, but it's pretty rock bottom, and there's nothing I can do about it. So if I didn't show up and I crawled in that bed, nothing would, she wouldn't be saved. She would still have lost one of her children. Like, she would still be addicted, like all of that, and still in denial, and still have friends that are supporting her in her denial and defending it. If I crawl in that bed, nothing changes except for the fact that I would have left you guys hanging. Does that make sense? And so I'm going to ask you guys to start to think of your business in that same sense if you want it to grow, because who you become in the process is actually way more rich than what enters your bank account. Okay. And so there are, like I said, there are going to be things that hit you in life. It's life, and your circumstances can't drive your bus. Can't drive whether you show up to run your business. Can't drive whether you push play. Can't drive whether you drink your shake. Can't drive whether you do your power hour, right? You have to have a relationship with the words that come out of your mouth. Write that down, because that's what is missing in these days in terms of follow through. And Scott Mann talks about this, is that we need people to have a relationship with what comes out of their mouth. And so when you cross into the different areas of your life, whether you go do your full-time job, what happened in the morning cannot carry with you and not do what you're supposed to do for your employer. That job is a gift. There is someone that's paying your bills, someone that, that is something to be grateful for. There is somebody, if you never owned a business and written checks for people that work for you, you might not understand, but coming from someone that writes $10,000 a month worth of checks to people, there is someone on the other side that is writing the checks for you to show up, to smile, to produce, to do your job. You know what I'm saying? And so when you walk into that facility, like, you have to leave it all out there. That's what we learned. That's what I learned at a very young age in softball. That's what Chad learned at a very young age as a Marine Corps aviator, right? He couldn't take his baggage into that plane. That would be life or death for him and 3 other people that were flying with him, right? He couldn't take with him the fact that he was going to miss the 3rd child's birth. He had to leave it outside the cockpit, okay? And so I'm going to ask you guys to do the same, and it all comes, your power to do that, okay? So your vision, your why is where your power comes from. Your focus comes from your goals, and you have to have both. If you have no goals, you have no focus. If you have no focus, you have no direction. If you have no direction, you're not going anywhere. And if you're not going anywhere, no one's following you. Does that make sense? You see how that just spiraled? Do you see what I'm saying? And so your power comes from your why, your vision. We're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about the execution of it, but I can't teach you how to execute if you don't take on the same mentality of why I'm sitting with you guys right here tonight, right? Like, I had to walk away from the computer for a second, thought I was going to lose my you-know-what, and all I wanted to do was cry, and I stop. You know what I mean? Leave it for after the webinar. I can deal with it after the webinar. I can cry all I want after the webinar, but right here, right now, I'm right here, right? Okay, and so we have to develop, to execute our goals and our vision, we have to own that we are in control of the direction that we're going. As soon as we relinquish control of our own actions, we lose control of the whole journey. Write that down. That's pretty profound. That just, write that down, Chad. You know, somebody tell me what I just said, because that wasn't from me. That flew out from somewhere else. Okay, so we're going to talk about vision today, but none of it really matters. I don't care if you're a new coach or a seasoned coach. I don't care if you kind of want to build the business or if you want to leave your job and build a 6-figure business. Because with that mentality, if you develop the ability to compartmentalize that emotional strength, the decision to get up anyway, you know what I mean? Like, when I think about when we were in the military, like, in Riley was 10 months old, and Griffin was 4, and Griffin was emotionally struggling with the deployment, and I was emotionally struggling with being alone and being dropped in the middle of nowhere and paying all the bills where the money wasn't at, and dealing with the fixer-upper, and really a house payment that we shouldn't have, and the list goes on. When the alarm clock went off in the morning, there was nobody, just much like this webinar, there was no one else to get up for me if I didn't get up. Chad wasn't here. My parents didn't live by me. My in-laws didn't live by me. There was no one that was going to come and get Riley out of her crib if I didn't get up. Just like if I didn't log on to this webinar, there was no one that was going to log on for me. I think sometimes we have a crutch because we are expecting someone else to do it for us. You know what I mean? Like, there are some nights that I've been like, you know, it'd be really nice to, like, go out on a date tonight. Oh, shoot, I can't. There's been times where people are having a birthday party, or a family member had a distant relative had a, you know, and everybody's getting ready for going out to dinner. And I was like, oh, I have a webinar that night. Just like that. Do you know what I'm saying? And when we own a situation like that, everything changes. But where does that come from? Right? Where does that desire to own it come from? I told you, your power comes from your vision. So you have to know, you know, and those of you that have been doing social media training with me, you guys heard me talk about, let me find the quote so I don't misspeak, but it has to do, it's Chalene Johnson's quote, and watch, I won't be able to find it. I just don't want to, oh yeah. Those that are good with who they are, where they came from, and where they're going are going to be the ones with great influence. Okay, Chalene, we are moving into the storytelling age, not the information age. Even the way, if you look at how things are being marketed, like, the big people have figured it out. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have to follow suit because we run a business, right? Someone once asked me, would you run your family like you run a business? Well, it depends how you run your business. They really should be able to be ran the same way, in all seriousness. But it depends. I would ask yourself, the way you're running your business, is that how you would run your marriage? I don't know. Do they have two parallels? Is your marriage and your business suffering, like not growing? Like, we have to own that, right? I had to own that 7 years ago. 7 years ago, I saw that quote when I walked down the stairs. It said, if you want something different, you have to do something different. You popped out at me, not the different. The summer, not Chad, not my parents, not my in-laws, not Griffin, not Riley I'll build this once Riley starts sleeping through the night. I would have been waiting forever. The girls struggled to sleep forever, And so, you guys, we have got to own the you part, that we are in control of that portion of it, but we have to know where we're going, right? And so we're entering that storytelling stage, not the information, the storytelling stage. And so Chalene Johnson gives a very, very clear definition of who's going to have influence. That's all that we want, you guys. A business owner, whether you own you're a pastor that owns a church, that's a business. Whether you own your household, right? You own your household. You are the head of the household, guys, right? You want influence over your household. You want to take domain over it. Okay, you want influence. That's all that we want. Influence is what causes people to follow you, and you're going to lead people to something that's mutually beneficial, something that will change their life, something that will help them lead a healthy and fulfilling life, right? We know we have the tools for that. We have to gain influence so that when we tell people, they trust us, they feel safe with us, right? And so Chalene is telling us right here that you can't leave you have to have all three parts. You have to be good with who you are. Like, you are you. There's only one you, right? So we have to be good with who we are right now. We have to be good with who we were, where we came from, our past, the scars that we have, the wounds. We have to get good with that. Like, okay, that this can be used for good. Remember, you're only as sick as your secret. Come out of hiding. Like, you have to be good with that. Chalene is telling us that. Scott Mann is telling us that. Right? Stephen Furtick is telling us that. And you have to, and you have to be good with where you came from and where you are going. Those people that have put all three of those things together are going to be the ones with greatest influence. And greatest influence means a business, because that's all a business is. You could run a car business, and you need influence in that to be mutually beneficial in a relationship as to what car you think would be a good fit for their family, right? And so you have to put these three together, right? So let's talk about, we've been talking a lot about in the storytelling, so I'm not going to rehash all that. We're talking a lot about who you are and where you came from and working through that and allowing that to become part of your story and sharing it selflessly to serve other people, and it's servant leadership, and that's how it works. But let's talk about where we're going, because even if you're good with where you're at and you're good with where you came from, if you don't know where you're going, if you don't paint a picture for where you go, if you don't know, no one will follow you. And that is, and I'll post in Team Courage a year ago maybe in Texas I did that webinar, Chad, about get on my train. I'll post it in Team Courage. But you have to, the reason some of us aren't being followed is we're too scared to say where we want to go. And I'm going to tell you what I've told people multiple times: just say it. Just say it. When we were at church with Gary Cassey the other day, he was talking about how, and it's going to be about a Ferrari. Don't misread or twist my words or tell anybody I was saying we needed a Ferrari or anything. But he was saying how at his Provision conference they had a Ferrari. Was it on stage, Chad, or something, or in the lobby? I don't know. Anyway, so there was a Ferrari, and there was two different responses to this Ferrari, right? There was the response of, that's awesome. How do I get one of those? Right? Like, that's cool. And there was the other response that was like, oh, that's cool. That's good for them. Never me. Do you know what I mean? And some of you guys are like, well, what does that have to do with me? I don't want a Ferrari. Some of you guys think about that like you think about this business, right? You look at me and you're like, that's so cool for summer. You know what I mean? And I love her, and she's so energetic. Good for, and you come around and you're like, you just put me up here and you're like, that's so cool for her. And you can't even picture yourself in this leadership. Guess what? If you can't picture it, you'll never achieve it. There's no way. There is no way. If you can't start to visualize it, you'll never achieve it. Some of you guys like, I don't want your level of leadership. Fine. What do you want? What do you want? You know what I'm saying? Like some of you guys look at Janelle Summers or Meg Wazinski and different things like that, and you think like, that is so awesome for them. And and you just kind of sit back. No one will follow that. We have to get through whatever is between, and that happens between our ears. That's belief, right? We know the limbic part of the brain controls your feelings, your emotions, and your belief, right? Which controls your decisions, right? So whatever you believe about yourself, right? If you don't believe that you could ever have a six-figure business or come home from work or pay off your debt or whatever your vision is, if you don't ever really believe it, that's the same part of the brain that makes decisions. So you will never put into action what is required to achieve it. Right? So there's the execution. Do you guys see how vision and execution are so put together like this? Some of you guys are like, so how do I get there? Some of us think, well, I have to find the vision first. I have to find the vision. That's where we're wrong. The execution comes before the vision sometimes. I didn't start out 7 years ago seeing myself where I was. Does that make sense? Success leaves clues, and I followed the directions over and over and over again. So we can talk about vision, and some of you guys, because of what you've been through in your past, maybe from unforgiveness, things that you haven't forgiven yourself for or other people for, you don't feel worthy of a position like that. And some of you guys are waiting to feel worthy to take action, when really it's the action that causes the feeling, the worthiness. Think about belief maker. How do we become a belief maker? By setting the example. That's the first one. Well, you are your number. You coach yourself, right? And so you have to set the example for yourself first. So a lot of us are chasing this vision, right? When really it's in the action, it's in the execution that in time, because here's the deal, and I'm going to tell you from my point of view, and you can insert whatever word you want, but God isn't going to show you the whole vision yet. It would scare the out of you. He's not going to show it to you. So stop waiting for the vision to be there before you execute. Right? Stop waiting for the vision before you execute. You have to decide to execute, and then little at a time, the vision will start to unfold clearer and clearer and clearer and clearer. Right? And so let's talk about the execution, because this is such a great topic, and this is how it was formed, because you guys asked for it. But some of you guys were like, what does a day in the life of a coach look like? Right? What is the day like? See, I think some of you guys get so focused on thinking that it's super complicated. Did you guys know I work maybe 20 hours a week? How many of you guys thought I worked more than that? Raise your hand. Come on. Yep. Come on. Let me scroll through a little bit. Let me scroll through. Yeah. There we go. I see you guys raising your hand. So you're assuming that I work, but really what I did was I followed directions, and Janelle Summers and Chalene Johnson told me to delegate. So I have multiple people working for me. Multiple people. A little at a time. I followed directions. Janelle Summers told me to invest 50% of my income back into my business. Guess what I'm really good at? Following directions. Success leaves clues. I didn't have the success. Janelle did. Right? So she told me what to do. I had someone do my laundry first and clean the house to open up a couple more hours to do the things that I'm going to tell you to do. So some of us have this idea, and even those are becoming your excuse. Like, I could never do that because I don't have time to work as much as Summer does. Or I don't want to work as much as Summer does. In all honesty, I work less than all of you guys. All of you. Right? That's funny, isn't it, Kara? You're like, never thought that. It's true. So let's talk about what the day in the life of Summer looked like 7 years ago. Okay, because that's where some of you guys are at, and that's where you need to start. Okay, so 7 years ago, and I tell you, I didn't have a vision right away. Remember I told you guys, I just knew I needed to do something different. Summer needed to. Summer was moping, self-loathing, woe is me, like I hate this, I hate Chad, I hate our paycheck, I hate, poor me, walk out the front door, I'm good. Do you know what I'm saying? That was Summer 7 years ago, okay? And so I knew Summer had to do something different. Nobody else. Summer had to. So Summer changed her routine, my habits, because that is what your potential is based on, your habits, right? And so you've heard me and Brittany Leggett last year talk about define yourself according to your work ethic. Don't define yourself according to your past or in a title or anything like that. Define yourself based on something you can control, and you can control your work ethic. Where's that sheet, Chad? I have 10 things that you don't cost anything. You know where that's at?
I don't know. I'll go look.
Okay. So, define yourself by your work ethic. So that's all I did. I didn't know where I was exactly going. I knew I was going somewhere that better than where Summer was. That's what, and every day I had to change my habits. I had to stop, watching Grey's Anatomy and drinking wine. Okay, that wasn't leading. That was like, you have to. That's something that Gary Cassie said the other day. If you want to take domain, take your territory over your house. You are a leader in your house, so that is your territory, not your kids. It's your territory, right? Your business is your territory. It's not your husband's job. It's not your spouse's job. It's not your downline or your upline's job. It's your business. It's your territory. So how do you take domain over it? Because how do you have influence over it? What do you do? Well, the number one thing you have to do is admit that something's wrong. Nothing ever changes unless you admit something's wrong, right? And so for something to change, let's just go back to Chad and I 4 years ago. Nothing would have changed in our marriage if I wouldn't have said, this is wrong. Even though this is how other military spouses, it was the norm in the military to treat each other that way. We saw it. We heard stories. Chad heard stories while he was deployed, we learn in life, this dysfunctional, we're programmed to think it's normal, right? It's normal to be in debt. It's not normal for me to be for $100,000 in debt. That is that. Okay, we make mistakes. We get credit cards. I get that. But $100,000, that's a habit. That's a habit. Right? And if I was going to predict my future by my habit, I was going to be even more in debt. $200,000 in debt in a couple years. You see what I'm saying? That's how you predict your future, by your habit. Not where you're at doesn't define you, but your work ethic, what you do every day, right? And so we have to admit something's wrong, right? For my fitness to change, for when I was uncomfortable in my skin and all of that, I had to admit that something in me had to change. See, I was so used to saying that it was Chad's fault. Even today I was like, oh, I'm feeling better today. I'm feeling better today. We were in our closet, and I was like, that's been a struggle for me lately, coming back from a surgery. And he's like, oh, I love to hear that. Or wait, were we at the dermatologist when I said it? It was the dermatologist. And leaving, so I just said that I was good. Leaving the dermatologist, he was like, we should get Wendy's. And I was like, no, that, do you see that doesn't align? Do you know what I mean? No, I'm feeling good. And he was like, come on. Do you know what I mean? Let me tell you what that would have done to our marriage 7 years ago. I would have got pissed at him. I got pissed at him for doing that to me. Instead of realizing that I have the ability to say no, thank you, which I did. No, I don't want to do that. I just told you I feel good. So no, I'm not going to. I even said to him, I was like, babe, you need the calories. Go ahead, you do it. Get yourself a big old burger and French fries. I'm in control of me. 7 years ago, I had to admit that there was something wrong, right? And so nothing changes until we admit that. Nothing ever changes from a place of your comfort zone, saying like, it is what it is. If that flies out of your mouth, just know nothing is changing. And is what it is mindset is just like hopeless. This is just what it is. I mean, why even do anything? Why even change? Because it is what it is, right? And so that's the first thing that we have to talk about. We have to talk about, is there something wrong? Like looking at your habits and your work ethic, looking at how you cross the line, the white, line, chalk line onto your field, so to speak. For those of you that are here late, that's not going to make sense. But walking onto your softball field, right? How do you approach the business? Do you carry all your frustration and everything from what your spouse did to you and what the number on the scale said and, what's happening with your sister? Do you carry that into your business? Something needs to change, right? When you say to yourself, like, that is humility, you guys. That is humility. Chad and I have been working on these shirts for the Spartan race, and, I'm not going to give it, it's really a surprise, but I'll tell a little bit. We put like our 3 H's of success on the shirt. And one of them is humble, right? You have to humble yourself. When you admit something's wrong, like if you're doing something wrong, it's humble. High-level leadership has to be humble. There are 3 H's. To be high-level leadership, you have to have heart. You got to hustle. There's the work ethic. So your heart, it's a heart condition. Your hustle, you have to work. And then you have to humble yourself. You have to humble yourself, not to argue back when you know you're right. You have to humble yourself when something's wrong and you need to fix it, right? You can't succeed without those 3 H's. So when you are admitting something is wrong, that is high-level leadership. People will come to me like, I'm so ashamed to say this. I'm like, no, this is high-level leadership. It's the people that are hiding out still. That's the problem. But you tell like, this is good. This is high-level. You have just gone to the next level, girlfriend, when you say that there's something that needs fixed, because that is humble right there. And they're in leadership and in life, in your pursuit to your vision, to be the best version of yourself, we are going to have to continually humble ourselves. That's part of the peace process, right? And so we have to decide if something needs to change, okay? And so only you can decide that, right? And decide if you like, no one can make you, no one can motivate you. Like that has to come from within, right? That it's a decision. It was a decision. It would have been just as easy for me to, text my assistant and say, cancel it. They'll understand. The text that I got, you would understand. You would understand if I showed you the text that I got. See what I'm saying? So it would have been just as easy to say that. Don't read it. There's more text coming through. I see them. So like it would have been just as easy to be like, no. But you have to, when you're in leadership, when you want influence, you have to walk in your house. When you walk through the front door, don't bring work with you. Don't bring work with you into the front door. Leave it out there. This is a different inside the lines in here. Leave it out there. High-level leadership humbles themselves, brings himself in here, leaves it out there when you're behind, on the other side of the white lines. Same with the business. So what did it look like for me? I'll be honest. So I didn't have a lot of time. Chad and I didn't have any money to have a sitter or anything. And so I had to, sorry, the texts are coming through. Can you tell her to stop texting me? I just lost my train of thought. What was I saying?
So what your day looked like?
Oh, what my day looked like. Okay. So back in North Carolina, Riley didn't walk. She didn't crawl or anything at 10 months old. And it all makes sense now, but we would catch her sleeping with her head, like her both legs like up here, super flexible. Do you know what I mean? Like sometimes one leg would be back like that. I'd be like, what is wrong with her? You know what I mean? And we were taking her to doctor's appointments, me. We're taking her to doctor's appointments. We thought she was going to have to be in a body cast, because they thought her hips were broken. But no, it all makes sense now, right? She's a gymnast. But because her ligaments were so loose, just be kind, okay, Chad? Her ligaments were loose, right? So she couldn't get her knees underneath her. They just, they flip out. So she couldn't crawl. She couldn't do anything. And so she just cried for me. Casey Wallace, Liz Taffel, they can attest to this. She would just like scream at me, right? So she had to be carried everywhere. And she was a vocal child. You guys see Riley, right? She's like that as a baby. She wasn't like calm. She would like play with her toys like for hours type of baby. She was like, I ain't playing with nothing. Pick me up. Do you know what I mean? And so when I put her down, she would just cry. It was like we used to joke that she had a button on her butt that when you set her down, like, meh! And sometimes I just let her go because, I mean, I had to do stuff. But so what I'm trying to tell you is I wasn't working the business during the day, right? So some of you full-time working mamas, I get it. I get it, you know? And so I had to get up. I knew something had to change in me, right? I knew it. Like it had to start with me. I had to change. What I was doing wasn't working. So I had to execute something different, right? And so I had to come up with a plan to develop new habits to change the direction of where I was going. I didn't know where exactly I was going to end up, but I knew I didn't want to go where I was headed. So I needed to go a different direction. And so I started implementing a new habit, right? And so my favorite is I'm not a morning person. I mean, does anybody here really like to be up at 5 a.m.? I mean, that's 5 a.m., especially after you nursed her at 2 a.m. and 11 p.m. and 9, and do you know what I mean? Like no one wants to be up at 5, but I knew what I was doing wasn't working, so I had to change something, you know? And so I started getting up at 5, and I walked down the stairs. They woke up at 7, okay? So I didn't let them out of the room until 7. Griffin knew it, not coming out. And so I would wake up at 5, so just to give you guys an idea, I'd wake up at 5, I'd walk down the stairs, I would YouTube personal development, like motivational videos, because I hated to read. I was made fun of kind of for it. I was in special reading classes growing up. I really wasn't good at it. I didn't understand it. I could read one page and have to read the page again because I really didn't comprehend any of it. And so that's where I started, because success leaves clues, and that's what Tommy Migrant had said on a national wake-up call. So I was like, okay, well that's good. I'll do that. So I was listening to it while I was making coffee, because let's be honest, I lived off of it with what I was going through. And when it was done, it was like a 10-minute video, and then I would sit down and I would do my power half hour. That's about all I had time for. But I did the things that if everything else blew up in my life, which it generally did, meaning the refrigerator would blow up, or you know, I don't know if Liz remembers, like the washing machine stopped working and the cable would go out. And I mean, it was like something all Griffin would have the flu. I mean, it was a mess, right? And so that always happens when your husband deploys. And so I got the things that had to happen so that if something blew up in my day, I knew I got the things done that mattered the most, right? And so, and I did this. I did this for 2.5 years straight. Listen to me, 2.5 years straight. For 2.5 years, I did the same thing 7 days a week. But I didn't work a lot. I wasn't the person that was attached to my phone all the time. I wasn't the person on the computer all the time. I couldn't. I already told you guys that. I had crappy phones. We didn't have the phones we have now. We didn't have the money to have those kind of phones, right? And so I wasn't on my phone all the time. I got up. I'm going to tell you the things that I did. I did them in chunks of 2. You know, I know we get some people that are, and it's fine if that, and I do it now in chunks of 10 and stuff like that, like mass finding people and stuff. But I only had a half hour. And this is what I was told to do. And they said, if you do it, it'll work. It's kind of like when Maxwell teaches hitting the tree. How many times? 5 times? 10 times? 20? 50? What did he say? 5. He said 5, right, Kara? 5 times. He didn't say go whack at it until your arms feel like they're going to fall off. Go to bed exhausted. Get up in the morning. Try to make yourself whack at it again. Not get very far. Get to 10 whacks. Feel like a failure. Put the axe down. Go back in bed and feel like a failure and not do it again the next day. He said go do it 5 times. That's what we were taught. 5 times. Go to the same tree. Not a different tree. Don't get on Facebook profile, whack at it for a month, and then be like, it's not working. I think I'll do a like page. Do that. See nothing coming in on your ads that you're spending money on and go, you know what? Everybody's on Instagram. I'll go over there. Go whack at that one and then go, you know what? Isn't everybody on Snapchat? Whack at the same tree. That's all I did on my profile page 5 times. I woke up in the morning. Sometimes my axe was dull. I didn't have a lot of skill, right? I had to sharpen the axe still, so I got better, right? But I had to work with what I had. It wasn't like, I'll wait till I get the axe sharpened or wait till I can get an axe that's not so heavy. No, the axe that I had is what I whacked at the tree with 5 times. Set it down, went and did the mom thing, you know, the single mom thing. Got up the next day, whacked at it again, okay? And that's all I did. So I found 2 people. Add 2 people to my list without fail. I've done that for 7 years. I've added to my list every day for 7 years. And it takes approximately 2 minutes. 2 minutes. See, that's easy. Easy to do, but just as easy not to do. It's easy to do, but easy not to do. Right? And so this is what I do. I'd sit down. Why? Because Melissa McAllister told me to. She had the results. She had the fruit that I was after. Okay? So she told me what to do. She said, do this every day on a national wake-up call. Don't give me, I wasn't on any one-on-one calls with anybody. Okay? So Melissa McAllister said it on the national wake-up call. And so, but when I listen to national wake-up calls, I pretend that Melissa McAllister. I shut my mouth. She's the leader. I listen. I take notes. I execute. Same thing with Danny. I don't need a one-on-one call. One-on-one calls slow me down. Like, I have denied one-on-one calls with Danny Johnson. I don't need them. I just sat in your event. Then I sat in your lunch. I don't need another. Like, that just is on my schedule. I don't need enough. I already heard what I need. Now I just got to execute. We don't need to talk about nothing. I have gifted her back her time twice. I don't need it. Give it to somebody else. Go spend time with your grandkids, I told him. I don't need it, right? And so all I did was listen to Melissa McAllister. 2 fines, she said. 2 fines every day. And we've talked about that in the invite training, so I'm not going to go through all that again. Okay, so I did that. It took me like 2 minutes. Then I connected with 2 people from my list. You have to have your list. Every business has to have a list. We went over that. Invite training. You have to have your list. And so I would look at my list and I would go love on 2 people. I would, try to start a conversation. I would wish them happy birthday. I would love on them. I'd love bomb them. I'd tell them how beautiful they look. If they had a baby, I would try to send them a message. How are you feeling? I'm trying to start conversations to grow influence, to love them, to see if I can serve them in any way. Every day I did that. Every day. Okay? The 3rd thing I did every day was I sent 2 invites of some sort without fail. I didn't do any of this. I don't have anybody to invite stuff because Melissa McAllister told me not to do that. If you guys listen to Christy Constner, she talks about the one thing she left, or maybe it was Jessica Piola. I don't know. She said that the one thing she wished she would have done more of, no, it was Dara. I'm getting them all confused. One thing she wished she would have done more of is invite. Everybody told her that you need to invite, and she didn't. And then people that she was close to are like, oh yeah, I signed up to coach with my friend. Like, they're like, wait, what? Like, you never invited her. So she didn't even know you were a coach. So she signed up with some girl at work that did invite her. See what I'm saying? And so I did that every day. I invited to free challenges. I invited, back then we did 10-day challenges. I invited, back then there were 90-day challenges. You know what I mean? I was in that, like, that's what I was told to do. It's a whack on the tree. It's not whack, whack, and I don't want to do that whack. I'm gonna skip that one. I'm gonna whack up here. Do you know what I mean? Like, it is part of the formula to knock down the tree. Just like there is a formula to knock down the tree of a distressed marriage. There is. Some of us like to leave some of them out, like the sex part. Like, we're like, I don't want to do that part. I don't want to go on a date, but I want a 6-figure marriage, but no, I don't want to do those things. He's not nice. I don't want to get his coffee. I don't want to kiss him in the morning. And it's like, no, those are the things that create the wax. Those are the wax on the tree, right? The same thing with if you want a 6-figure business, I'm telling you the things to do every single day for 2.5 years. In a marriage, I tell people all the time what to do, like how long I have to do that. I was like, well, I had to do it for 4 and I still have to do it. So forever? Do you know what I mean? Like, depends how bad you want it, right? And so, and it's not hard. It is easy to kiss your spouse. Trust me, I kissed my spouse many times that I didn't fully feel it. many times. You know what I mean? But it's easy to do and easy not to do, right? But the compound effect tells us if we kiss our husband regularly, if we have sex with them regularly, that's not regularly is not once a month, FYI, just throwing that out there. You know, but if we do those things regularly and we go on a date and we connect and we listen to him and his interests and his goals and all the things I taught you guys in a marketing plan that applies to your marriage will improve. Not maybe. Now, yours might take a little longer depending on the damage that's been done in the past, right? But it will. In time, it's the compound effect. It's the same thing with fitness. If you do it over a long period of time, these things this recipe that we have, you will lose the 50 pounds you've been trying to lose, but not starting and stopping, not whacking on this tree. I know people, they start a program. I don't like that program. Start whacking on a different tree. You know, they do this one. I don't like that one. They go over here, go do the whole 30, do the whole 17 and be like, I'm going to do the carb cycling. You know what I mean? Like we're just whacking all over the place. They all work. I've done them. I did the whole 30. It worked. I've done the carb cycling. It works. Intermittent fasting works. You know what I mean? If you do it long enough, you know what I mean? At the same tree. That's it. It's like tracking. People do Teamsy for a month. Really? You gave it a month? It doesn't work. I don't like it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like it. They do spreadsheets for a couple weeks. Not me. They move to that's called whacking on all different trees. And then you're frustrated because none of the trees fell. None of the trees fell, right? So the only thing I've done is be more consistent than most. That's it. That is the secret. Carrie Legault has just been consistent. Just been consistent. She did hers differently. All right, I'm going to get to Carrie Legault in a second. But okay, so I would do the inviting, right? And that is all I did in my Power Half Hour. Those 3 things. And if something happened to the day, that is my funnel. It moves forward, right? And I would work out. So that was my Power Half Hour. And then I worked out, period, end of story, before those kids ever got out of bed. Why? Because if something happened to my day, my journey, I have to put my oxygen mask on first. So I needed to take care of me if I was going to keep moving in a positive direction, right? And so those are the things that I did first and foremost. And some days the day went to hell. You know what I mean? Griffin would have the flu. Riley would be teething. We all know how that goes. And then she wouldn't want a nurse. And then she would, wouldn't sleep. All kinds of things would happen, you know? And so I knew that stuff was done, right? And so after I work out, I always post in my challenge group right away. Take a sweaty selfie. You know what I mean? Like flex, do something. You know what I mean? Like do a jump squat, put it in there. Say how bad I didn't want to do it at 5:45 in the morning. Do you know what I mean? And blah, blah, blah. Like share my journey, you know? And that was it. And now I'm done for the day. I really could have been done and the business would have grown, right? So let me tell you what I did at lunchtime for not very long. But at lunchtime, what I did was I checked my messages and I did my follow-ups. It took me about a half hour because then I had to fold the laundry. I had to clean up the dishes. I made Riley's baby food, so I had to make her baby food. You know, all of those things, like I still had to do, right, in that time. Because remember, Riley would only be held, and she did not like the baby Bjorn, and I didn't have any money to go buy all those other nifty things that wrapped around your body and did all these crazy things, let alone even figure it out, I'll be honest. I don't have the patience for it, I don't think. So 30 minutes, that's what that time was reserved for. Follow-ups and messages. I was in there, right? What did people say back for 30 minutes? Boom, 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 done. I'm off. Taking care of the household. And then at night, at night is when I trained. Okay, so nights like tonight, like I train after my kids are in bed. I've always been that way for 7 years, pretty much. And the reason being is because I needed to sharpen my axe. It's all a skill. Inviting is a skill. Social media is a skill. Organization is a skill. Leadership is a skill. And I had none of it. I had a messy life. I already told you that my habits had created where I was at, and it wasn't in a good place. I had to recreate. I had to redo everything. Everything. My mindset, the whole deal. And so that's what I would do at night. I would do about 30 minutes or so of training, sometimes an hour with Shalene. And I had to buy $400 worth of product from her on a credit card because we didn't have any money. But I already told you I knew where I wanted to go. I'm going in a different direction, and I need to work on me, and this is what I'm doing, right? And so every night, that's what I did, and I would reserve a little time to encourage my challengers. But okay, so my kids went to bed at 7, and they go to bed at 8 now, and Griffin's 10. Like, I'm that type of, I'm like, you need your sleep. We all know they need their, like, you need to go to bed. And so I still, I was off by 9 o'clock. I was back up in my room, taking a bath, reading, a book or trying to read Compound Effect. It took me a long time to get through it, lots of baths, and I was back in bed at a decent time by 10:30 to get up again at, all the nursing and everything, but to get up at 5, and that was every single day. So when people were like, they'd have spouse outings, I said, no, I have a plan. This is what I treated it like when I played softball in college. It wasn't like, hey, do you want to show up to practice today? It was like, you show up to practice, you know what I mean? And so I showed up every single day to my business. And little by little, because of those executions, because you start to get small victories, your belief grows. Do you see how this starts to go? If you start with the execution, you're leading by example, so you're starting to believe. Then you start to have small victories because you're starting conversations and it starts to get natural. It's like my sister-in-law, Nicole Hamble. She has all these small victories happening because she's just chopping at that tree every night, you know what I mean? And people will message her back at work and she'll say, I can't wait to hear about your goals. Do you mind if I message you back when I get home? During what? Her power hour, right? So Nicole's not like, oh crap, you know what I mean? She's like, hey, you recognize it. I used to do this when my kids were awake. I would recognize it. I'd say, hey, do you mind if I text you back later when my kids are in bed so that I can really focus on what your goals are, your needs are, and see how I can serve you? Sure, okay. You know what I mean? And that's what Nicole's doing every day, and she has a challenger down 3 pounds. She's that. If you guys saw her, would see her side by side, she's losing weight. Just the same thing. Just this. Nothing sexy, nothing crazy. She definitely doesn't understand everything, but just keeps whacking, and her axe keeps getting a little sharper and a little sharper as she learns. She listened to all of the invite training. I see her pop on in the social media training, at work. Like, she does as much as she can just to learn, and she whacks at the tree, and that's all I did. And so sometimes I think people are looking for something profound, but you can organize that any way you want. Carrie Legault built hers in between her daughter's bed on not on a jelly bean.
Beanbag.
A beanbag. You can't build anything sitting on a jelly bean. That'd be cool. But on a beanbag. So she, that was what she did with hers, right? That's when she built it, was laying in between the girls, as they fell asleep, listening to them breathe. And she just went through that checklist. She would find people. She would connect. She would invite. She would check into her challenge group. She would answer her messages. She would do a little training. Be done. Do it all again tomorrow. Do it all again tomorrow, and she kept a checklist just like I did in the kitchen. And if she had little pockets during the day, she would do a little bit more, just a little bit, or she would fit in 2 finds while the girls were eating their lunch. And she would be like, she'd have it sitting right there and she'd be like, awesome, I'm going to get some finds. She'd go in intentionally into a group and add some value and friend request someone and then be done. And all Carrie did, so hers was designed a little different. That's the beauty of it. You don't have to leave the house to do it. You don't have to have a brick and mortar business, to do it. But it's just who can do this over and over and over again, and that is a decision. A lot of us jump into our business and we do the things that we like the most. Like, we check into the team page. That's fun, it's not uncomfortable. This is you know what I mean? That's the fun part. But Brian Tracy taught me to eat that frog. So what's your frog? What are the things that move your business forward every single day? Do those first. Okay? And as you do those things, you get the small victories, and your vision, you get another glimpse of what could be. You know what I mean? Because you start to believe in yourself. And what's about the belief? That controls your decision making, right? And so I truly believe sometimes we do have to have vision, right? Especially if you're a leader right now. You have to communicate with your team where you're going. And I'm not talking about your damn rank. I'm not, I mean, what is that? who cares? I'm going to be honest. I don't, like, you know what I mean? Like, none of you guys care what my rank is. You know what I mean? Like, does that motivate you? If I came on and be like, my goal is to be a 15-star in my second business center, would you guys be like, yeah? You know what I mean? Like, or if do you see what I'm saying? But how many of you guys attached more to when I talked about, telling my story about climbing into my bed every night all by myself when it was cold and falling asleep, crying every night and thinking, I can't keep doing this. Chad has to have the option to walk away. And then I started to paint the picture of where we wanted to live. Now, obviously that hasn't come into fruition necessarily, but I started to paint it. The more I had small victories, the more I was like, what could be? Those limitations start to lift as you get small victories, right? You start to say, like, and I'm going to figuratively, maybe I could own a Ferrari. Not that any of us want a Ferrari. I'm not saying that. But do you see what I'm saying? But not unless you start to put one foot in front of the other to do things, which comes back all the way to the beginning. When you cross the white line, leave your baggage back there, because we all have it. You're not the only one. Trust me, if we all threw our crap wrote our problems down with our spouse or whatever, and we crumpled it up and got to pick someone else's, we would beg for someone else. We would beg for ours back. We all have it. We're on earth. You're not the only one going through your crap. Like, I remind myself that all the time when I get out of bed. One of my good friends, like, her husband has cancer. That sucks. You know what I'm saying? Like, that sucks. Cancer's hard. The Whole30 is not. Cancer sucks. Pushing play on 22-minute hardcore or P90X3, not hard. I mean, when you really think about it. So leave your crap there and start taking action, and your belief will start to grow. And that really is the key. You have to keep it simple. You have to keep your blinders on. Who cares what everybody else is doing? Remember, I opened this with those of you, Shirlene said, those that are good with who they are, where they came from, and where they're going are going to have the ones with the greatest influence. So why do you need to be staring at everybody else's field? If you're good with who you are, you stand on truth, you are wonderfully made. There is only one you. That's the truth, right? That's the truth. Don't buy into all the other lies you've been fed from other people or the enemy, the negative voices in your head. Stand on truth. There's only one you. You were picked for a time, so another truth, right? And so be good with who you are. You were woven this way. Like, you were made this way. You know what I mean? Like, have I been frustrated sometimes because my body doesn't transform like other people's? I was woven this way for a reason. I have been taught perseverance. Good can come from that kind of stuff. I have been taught how to redefine myself, not based on image, not based on a number on the scale. And how many times has that been used for good? What if my weight would have just fallen off? What if I would have never had these struggles? A pastor one time told me that, show me where you're getting attacked and I'll show you your destiny. Right? So show me where you're getting attacked. What's the struggle? That's your destiny. Figure out a way through it. Not around it. Go through it. Go through it. Come up with an action plan. Execute through it, right? And you'll be able to use that, right? Only you will be able to use that, right? So when you start to stand on truths that you're good with who you are and where you came from, right? You're good with who you are and where you came from. You start to execute, and then you start to catch little glimpses of where you're going. But a lot of us, we want the whole thing shown out to us, right? It would scare you to death, and whatever you can conjure up on your vision, it's minimal compared to where you're really headed. Like, it's almost laughable. I mean, the extent of my vision was giving Chad the ability to walk away from the Marine Corps. That was how minuscule is that, considering the things that we have been guided to do since then. It's crazy, right? And so, you guys, it comes back to execution, right? It's walking, like making that decision, controlling what you can. I can't control my sister. I can't control my sister's friends that are justifying and lying. I can't control any of that, right? I can only control myself. I can control how I communicate with my sister. I can control whether I send her letters, whether I send her texts. I can only control what I do financially. So when what I pray for, comes to rock bottom and needs help financially, I can help her. Like, that's the only thing I can control. I can't control when that happens, right? And so I have to walk every day on the other side of the white line and leave all that crap back there and execute. And then when I'm done executing, I can walk outside, like when we get off here, and then I can cry. And then I can climb into bed after I've executed, right? And once we start to treat things like that, the process that you go through is actually the biggest gift. The peace that you have in that emotional stability, right? And so, you guys, I want to leave you with that. I'm gonna let people ask questions or whatnot based on whatever's on your heart or whatever. But you guys, you have to whack at the tree. The people that have succeeded in this business are all doing the same thing, right? And we've gone through the inviting and the social media and the list building and the finding. We've done all of that kind of stuff. Only you can decide if you're going to pick up the axe every day and whack at it, right? Only you. That is the negative voices in your head are not going to get quieter until you pick up the axe, because it's through the execution that your belief starts to grow. A lot of us are waiting for the voices to go away before we execute, but it all comes down to the execution. If all of you guys executed for 2.5 years, the same way I just told you that I did, a little at a time, right? The nights that I had webinars, I didn't do trainings on social media. The nights that I had new coach calls, I didn't do trainings. I kept it very simple, right? Now, I didn't have a lot of new coach calls because I signed up about 1 to 2 a month. That's it. So it's not like I was like ringing off the hook or anything. You know what I mean? But if you just follow that and you hit the tree's going to fall. But we have to recognize that there's something wrong, like I opened with. We have to recognize that there's something wrong and redirect and whack at the same tree over and over and over again. And your belief will start to grow. And that's actually where the magic happens. So I don't know if I helped you guys tonight or not, but it's time to pick up the axe. Like, there's no one else. Like, if anybody has a question, you can go ahead and type it while I'm kind of closing, and then I can address it. Any question, this is a safe place. You won't be laughed at. Like, I don't do that type of thing. And so if only you can pick up the axe. A lot of us are waiting for someone else to do it, or upline or something. Nobody can. Like, we can get surrounded. I do believe that's important. Don't be an island. Don't be an island. That doesn't do us any good, right? But once you recognize something's wrong, you have to create an execution plan, right? To move forward, which is what I've helped Chad with. You have to have an execution plan. There is action required in prayer or whatever you're doing, vibes, whatever. Action is required through that for change to happen, right? And so what is your execution plan for whatever you're struggling with? You have to recognize there's a problem and then say, I have to do this. So 7 years ago, I said, okay, I have to get up at 5. I have to do that. I don't have a choice. Like, Riley just screamed at me when I worked out. That wasn't an option. She wouldn't sit in saucer. She wouldn't she squealed at the most loud intensity. I've never heard anything like it before. And it now all makes sense. Like, it all matches perfectly. You know what I mean? But none of that. So that wasn't an option. It could have become an excuse. But I told you I recognized something was wrong, and only I could change the direction that I was going. So let me address some of these questions really quick. Struggle with my list because I have not focused on it. I just jumped around. Yep. So you recognize something's wrong, Cindy. You've jumped around. So now all you got to do is refocus on it, right? Every day, add 2 or 5 people. You aren't going to like the ramifications or consequences for where you're at. Like they are from actions that you did 3 to 6 months ago. It's not from last week, whatever you're going through right now. Like a marriage doesn't get all off kilter because of this week. It was things that, like ours got off kilter for 8 months of the same stuff that we did. Okay. And so there's like a lag. Like, so a lot of people will stop building their list because their success club is growing and they're like, yay, you know what I mean? But your success club is growing because of what you did 6 to 3 months ago. So, and you'll think that I don't need to build the list. It's growing, but you won't see the consequence of that for 3 to 6 months down the road. And then it's like, the funnel's empty, And so, but all you do is is correct and start whacking at that tree and building your list. Yeah, that's good. I like that you're saying that it's going to be a non-negotiable, and then leave it. You guys, a lot of us, like, you have to walk away from it. That's where faith comes in. See, a lot of us are clenching our business like this. You know what I mean? And you can't receive like this. You have to go like this. So you do your part, and then you have to set down the axe, and you have to walk away. You don't need to answer your texts all the time. You don't need to open Facebook all the time. And if you do, you have to ask yourself, what are you hiding from by opening Facebook all the time? I know I've hidden in Facebook. That was the first place I went to when I found out about my sister. Because for me, that's where positivity is until lately. Usually my news feed is full of all kinds of positivity and people moving forward and working through crap and solutions, And so Facebook, I would go because that's where I'd get my inspiration, because it's just full of coaches, and my challenge groups and my team page and stuff like that. But that was hiding. That wasn't fixing anything for me, right? I was hiding in it. So that was the first thing I would do in the morning and I did this when Chad was deployed at first too, because I wanted to forget about what my real problems were. That makes sense. So I didn't want to, my real problem was I was lonely, right? But so if I picked up Facebook, I didn't have to be lonely. I didn't have to work through that, right? And with my sister, if I picked up Facebook, I didn't have to think about what she was doing to herself. Okay. And so we have to recognize those things. I had to recognize that something was wrong with that, and I had to set fences around that. So some people that text me and stuff might have noticed that a couple months ago, I went silent on text. I wasn't responding very quickly or anything. And I know some people were frustrated with me, but I had it on airplane mode because I was leaning on it too much, And so I had to deal with it. I had to emotionally work through what was going on with my sister. Let's see. Uninstalled Messenger from your phone. That's good. That's a great way to work through that. I mean, I still work on my phone more than I work on my computer. And so because my vision, when I work, I like to work at a desk. I do sometimes, but I rather work. Chad would say I like to work in the bathroom. That's not true. Okay. I like to work in bed. Do you know what I mean? That's perfect to me. Do you know what I mean? That's so comfy. I just pop up a lot of times I'm talking to you guys. I'm just popped up right here going like that. So I don't take Messenger. I don't have any notifications on my phone though. I have no idea when someone responds to something of mine. Let's see. So you have trouble putting together your execution plan, and when I don't have a plan, I don't have action. Anybody's like that. When Chad would go on a mission, they had a plan. They didn't just take off and hope to find the bad guys and maybe we'll see a mission we can support. You know what I mean? They spent time planning, before they took off. The planning a lot for Chad was a lot longer, and the briefing was a lot longer than the flight. And so you have to have a plan. Do you know what I mean? It's really simple. Honestly, I think sometimes we overthink it, but on a note card for the longest time, I just wrote down the things that I just told you. Which is finding 2 people, connecting with 2 people, inviting 2 people, follow-ups and messages, and my challenge groups. And that's what I did every single day. And then every night, everybody knew I was studying, if there's one thing I know how to do, it's study. You know, that's pretty much what I got from college, was how to study harder. So yeah, no, you know, overthinking, you have 5 seconds before your brain starts to kick in and those negative voices. The only way to overcome the negative voices is through action. So those are your 2 choices. And so you have to take action in it. You just have to do it. Like, you don't have to know the whole invite process. You know, that's what something I was teaching Nicole. Like, stop guessing what the objection is going to be and not sending the invite because you're guessing how you should respond to an objection that you don't know if you even got yet. You know, stop being fearful of hitting diamond because you're afraid you won't know how to lead or how to balance that. You're not there yet. You know, where's my phone? Can you see it? So I was in the dermatologist's office today and I was looking at this magazine and this is what it said. I read it to some of you guys today already, but nope, that's not it. Hold on. Okay. It said, sometimes you don't know how to come up with the answer. You just do. You just do. And just by taking action, the answer starts to come to you, you know, in time. And so, you know, that was in a magazine with the CEO of Tenfold. She's the founder. And so that's all she said. Sometimes you don't know how to come up with the answer. You just do. But the only way you do, it's not like it just falls out and like, woo. It's like, it's through action. So I don't know, like I was listening to a sermon by Stephen Furtick and he was talking about how the beta phase of songs is ugly, right? Like it's not a very pleasant thing to like, his kids will listen to and they'll be like, Daddy, you should not produce that. It's horrible. Don't ever let anybody hear that. But the end result is amazing and they're on tour for it right now. But the beta phase was horrible. So the start always sucks. Exactly, Kelly. We're right here, Kelly. The start always sucks. Think about when you first start working out. When I first started working out after surgery, it sucked. I used to be able to do 50 and now I can barely get 6 on my toes. You know, that sucks. And it wasn't like 50, like 5 or 6 good ones. It was like half, you know, you're just counting them because you got to boost your self-confidence. You know what I mean? And like the 6th one is like a Ed Bob and you're like 6. You know what I mean? Like that's what it was like, you know, and the start, it sucked. Like getting back in the habit of working out after being off for 3 months because I couldn't work out. My energy levels were too low. It's hard to get out of bed, you know, like it sucked. So, you know, I did anyway. It's crazy to think that I did that. But, you know, 3 months and starting over again just a couple weeks ago, it sucked. It always sucks to start. Always does. So if you expect that, but our body, we are wired to gravitate towards comfort and easy. So if we know the suck's going to start, we just don't start. But if we don't start, we can't catch a vision. If we don't catch a vision, no one's going to follow us. No one follows us. We won't have influence. So a lot of people we go to the surface, you know, where there's a harvest. We're looking at everybody else's harvest, you know, but to really see what had to happen, you have to dig to the root to figure out, and that's way down here and that's dirty and usually you can't see it and usually it sucks and it's ugly down here, right, underneath the surface, but that's where you have to start. A lot of us are trying to start up here in the harvest area, right? We want to be comfortable, right? We want inviting to be, well, start inviting when it's easy. It doesn't get easy until, like, it's easy for me. I've been doing it for 7 years, you know? And so, you know, the start sucks. But that's also exciting to me. When you actually do hard things, like I can do hard things. There is self-esteem wrapped up in knowing that you can do hard things. You know, you can do, I mean, I remember when Casey Wallace, like it's not that she loved her first deployment, but that was the first time she realized she can do hard things. So she embraced it. Her confidence grew in those 9 months because he kept getting delayed on his return, but her confidence grew. She could do hard things. Right? So whatever was thrown at her, she could keep walking through it. We can do hard things, right? But we have to walk through it, not hide from it or try to walk around it or try to get someone else to carry us through it. We have to walk through it. Bless you. Okay. Amen. Yes, amen. Brittany, I love that. This business helps you grow as a person. That's the best gift. I mean, if I wouldn't have had the business, you guys, I really don't know what I've done knowing what I know about my sister right now. I mean, chances are I probably would have flew down there and done something not productive. Do you know what I mean? Like, not at all. So anyway, okay, you guys, we're over an hour, so I want you guys to go. I want you guys to, I don't know, find a couple new people, you know, but I hope this helped a little bit. And the moral of the story is we have to execute at the things that are boring. We just have to hack over and over and over again at the tree, you know, and our confidence grows in that, and we stay surrounded by each other because we lift each other up. We encourage each other. That is huge piece of the belief maker, right? So if you're gonna, like a lot of people are like, can I have a book that helps with belief? I don't think it exists. I mean, I suppose I could write one because I really think it comes down to 3 things like Maxwell teaches, like just how you get other people to believe, the same way that you get yourself to believe is you set the example, that's the execution. You develop small victories within that execution, and you surround yourself by other people that are just a little bit in front of you so that you can locate yourself in their. See, a lot of people run from being surrounded by that. That's uncomfortable to be in a room of people that are ahead of them, right? But those are the 3 ways to create belief. You don't need a book. You need to execute. You need to create small victories for yourself. You need to stay surrounded by people that are succeeding. And that's going to build your belief. And once you believe, because the limbic part of the brain, now your decisions take over and you execute even more. Do you see how like that just like comes full circle, right? And so some of us are over analyzing the whole thing and we're overwhelmed when really it comes down to do these 3 things. Execute the things I just told you. Don't do anymore. Don't get crazy sexy with it. Don't try to figure out all the Facebook ads and all that other kind of stuff. Like, do you know what I mean? Like especially if you're brand new, don't get all crazy. Like I just told you what to do. Just do that. Just keep your blinders on right here. This is the direction you're going. This is what I need to do, right? Execute. Get small victories. Celebrate them. Recognize them. And get to events. Get around. Go to Danny with us. Go, you know, the people, there's like only 18 people. It's funny. Only 18, is it 18 or 20 that are going to it with us to Austin? Do you know what the biggest complaint I got last year from people was? That I don't open my leadership retreats to everybody. I opened it up to everybody, and I had less than I had when I opened it up to not everybody. Right? So how crazy is that? So people a year ago wanted to blame me for their lack of success in the business because I didn't open the leadership retreat in Utah up to everybody. So when I make the decision this year for the leadership retreat, I said it's open to everybody. We're going to run a Spartan race, but you don't have to. But I have a plan, and I'm going to do all this, and everybody's welcome. We have enough room. You know, Chad and I organized it. 18 people. Would you know the people that complained about Utah aren't going to be there? Isn't that eye-opening? Right? It's eye-opening. So get to an event. Get to a Danny event with us. We go, we surround each other. You know, get around success. You know, if you want your marriage to improve, get around other marriages that are good, that are moving in a positive direction. Surround yourself by whatever needs to change. Surround yourself by that. You need finances to change. Go hang out with people that have a handle on their finances. Look at their fruit. Get surrounded by them. Learn. Ask questions. That's how you build belief. You don't need a book. You need action. And your action is executing the 5 things. Your action is building small victories for yourself. And your action is intentionally getting surrounded by other people in the business or in marriage or in finance. So you guys, I'm going to cut off right there so you guys can get to sleep. I love you guys. I love digging in. I'm so excited that we are back together. And, you know, I'm trying to line up Tracy Morrow to come speak with you guys and some other things. So we have a lot of excitement going on. But I could talk at you every other week. Tracy could come talk at you. The other people that I've asked to come speak could come talk. But if we don't execute, none of it matters. So let's start executing together. All right? I love you guys. I'll talk to you later. See ya.